You clicked this video because you saw the hype. You saw the gorgeous cinematic trailers. You heard the whispers that the DJI Neo 2 was the ultimate beginner drone, the one that finally made advanced aerial videography truly effortless. But after spending weeks with this palm-sized powerhouse, after putting it through its paces in the unforgiving deserts of Nevada, the concrete canyons of New York, and the wind-battered coastlines of the Pacific Northwest, I have to tell you the truth. The Neo 2 is brilliant. It is a masterpiece of compact engineering. But it is not perfect. Not by a long shot. And today, we are going to expose the flaws. We're going to peel back the polished marketing and talk about the 10 critical things DJI should have done differently. These aren't just nitpicks, these are game changers. Things that, depending on how you fly, could make the difference between capturing that once-in-a-lifetime shot and watching a $150 drone tumble out of the sky. If you're thinking about buying the Neo 2, or even if you already own one, I promise you, you need to hear this list. Because the biggest disappointment is right at number 1, and it's something every single American pilot is dealing with right now. Let's dive in. This is the Neo 2, the unfiltered truth. 10. The Phantom No-Go Zone. Let's start with an unavoidable elephant in the room, especially for my American audience. The single biggest, most frustrating disappointment, the availability headache. Look, the Neo 2 has FCC certification. It's a legal drone here. The entire world, Europe, Asia, Canada, is flying this thing right now. And yet, if you're watching this in the United States, you're faced with what feels like an intentional marketing roadblock. We can speculate all we want about the political climate, the Defense Authorization Act, or the December 23 deadline, but the reality for the consumer is this: DJI has launched one of their most anticipated products and essentially created a phantom no-go zone right here in their largest, most profitable market. I wish they had been transparent. I wish they had launched globally or at least given a real reason and a real timeline, instead of forcing American consumers to navigate gray market importers or pay inflated prices. It's a betrayal of trust, and for a product this good, it's absolutely unnecessary. This isn't a feature flaw, it's a logistical failure that prevents pilots from even having the drone. It's the worst item on this list, because it's the most avoidable. 9. The microstorage trap. Moving on to the hardware itself, let's talk about storage. They bumped it up to a usable 49 gigabytes of internal storage. That's great. That's a massive improvement over the first-gen Neo. But here's the catch, and it's a critical one: there is still no SD card slot. Think about that for a second. This drone is now shooting glorious, high bitrate 4K at 60 frames per second, even 100 frames per second slow motion. That footage chews through storage faster than anything. Why does this matter? Because 49 gigabytes, once you're out in the field on a massive all-day shoot, evaporates into thin air. You're forced to stop, connect to the app, and wait for the painfully long transfer process. If you've ever tried to offload 100 high bitrate files over Wi-Fi, you know the pain I'm talking about. DJI is a premium company. They market to professionals and serious enthusiasts. Not including an SD card slot is a fundamental design blunder that interrupts the creative workflow. I wish they had included a— Yes, I know, the FAA limits commercial and recreational flight to 400 feet AGL. But the Neo 2's limit is 120 meters from the takeoff point, not the ground below it. Why is that a problem? Imagine you're filming a beautiful mountain range, or a massive skyscraper, or even a large, tall tree. If you launch the drone from the base of a canyon, you've immediately restricted your vertical range. You can't legally fly above 400 feet, but the drone itself often can't even get to 400 feet AGL, depending on your geography. It's a bizarre, seemingly arbitrary limitation that prevents dramatic, high-angle reveals and forces the pilot into frustratingly low-altitude flight paths. For a drone that's all about a bigger, bolder shot, this hard limit kneecaps the creativity. I wish they had simply set the limit to the industry standard 500 meters, which allows for legal operation in areas where the AGL is higher than your takeoff point. 7. The f/2.2 aperture dilemma. For all the incredible improvements to the camera, the dual-axis gimbal, the 4K/60, the 100 frames per second slow-mo, the lens still leaves a little something to be desired. While they did widen the aperture slightly from the first Neo, it's still locked at f/2.2. This is a great, standard aperture for bright daylight. But what about the best light? What about the golden hour? What about the blue hour? What about those impossibly cinematic low-light shots? A fixed f/2.2 aperture limits the amount of light hitting the sensor, meaning that once the sun starts to dip, you have to dramatically crank up the ISO, which introduces noise, grain, and an unwatchable video. We know DJI can do better. The Mini series offers a variable aperture on some models. I wish they had given us at least an f/1.8 or a variable f-stop. The camera is nearly perfect, but its low-light performance is tragically held back by this seemingly small design choice. We need more control over that depth of field, and more light for professional results. 6. The no RAW photo letdown. Sticking with the camera for a moment, let's look at the still photography side. The Neo 2 still shoots 12-megapixel JPGs. And that's it. There is no RAW photo support. If you're a photographer, you already know why this is a deal-breaker. A JPEG file is a compressed, processed image. The colors are baked in. The dynamic range is crushed. There's almost no room for manipulation in post-production. You're stuck with what the drone's tiny processor decides is the best photo. But a RAW file? That's a digital negative. It captures all the data the sensor sees, giving you ultimate control over shadows, highlights, and color grading. The Neo 2 is a flying personal photographer. But a photographer can't deliver a truly professional image without raw data. This feels like an artificial limitation designed to push serious photographers toward the more expensive Mini line. I wish they had simply activated the raw capture capability that we know the sensor is capable of. 5. The built-in battery anxiety. The Neo 2 features a significantly improved 19-minute flight time. That's a major win. But here's the problem that comes with that: the main battery is still built directly into the drone body. This isn't like your Mini or your Air, where you can pop a fresh battery in 3 seconds flat, and be back in the air. When the Neo 2 is dead, the entire drone is grounded until it's plugged into a wall. Now, they do sell a charging hub for external batteries, but carrying those extra battery modules adds to the bulk, and you still have to swap out the entire drone for a new shell, or wait for the internal one to charge. This kills the rhythm of a fast-paced shoot. It eliminates the ability to be truly quick-swap ready. In an emergency scenario, you can't just quickly eject a faulty battery. For a drone marketed as a grab-and-go adventure tool, the integrated, non-removable battery is a design choice that fundamentally limits its utility on a serious field production. 4. The O4 module tax. One of the cleverest pieces of engineering in the Neo 2 is its modularity. It comes out of the box using Wi-Fi for transmission, which is fine for close-range selfies. But to get the real DJI range, the low latency, the rock-solid connection that you need for safe, long-distance flight, you have to purchase the optional O4 transmission module and an RC controller separately. Why is this on the "wish they did better" list? Because it feels like a hidden cost and a forced choice. The drone is certified for O4. The technology is there. But they sell it as an entry-level Wi-Fi drone, knowing that any pilot who wants to use it for anything other than a very close-range selfie stick will immediately have to spend another $100 to $200 on the module and a controller. It's marketing that obscures the true price of the drone. I wish they had offered a single, higher-priced, Pro bundle that included the O4 module and a controller right in the box. Because for 90% of the audience watching this, the Wi-Fi only version is a crippling compromise. 3. the vertical video compromise. Short-form content is king. TikTok, Reels, Shorts, it's all about the vertical frame. DJI knows this, which is why they finally upgraded the vertical video capability on the Neo 2 from a paltry 1080p to a much better 2.7K resolution. But why stop at 2.7K? The horizontal camera shoots a gorgeous, crystal clear 4K/60. Why is the dedicated vertical mode, the mode that so many users will rely on for social media, artificially capped at a lower resolution? It forces content creators into a painful choice: either shoot 4K horizontally and manually crop to vertical in post, losing precious resolution, or shoot the lower resolution 2.7K vertically. The processor is clearly capable of handling the 4K stream. This is another feature that feels intentionally limited. I wish they had implemented a true 4K vertical crop or, better yet, a physically rotating gimbal like we see on the mini-series to give us uncompromised resolution in the vertical orientation. 2. The LiDAR blind spot. The single greatest upgrade on the Neo 2 is the addition of omnidirectional obstacle avoidance, heavily assisted by a LiDAR sensor. This is a game changer for a drone this small, and it makes flying in complex environments actually safe. But there is a catch. If you watch the drone in flight, especially when moving laterally, sideways, the detection isn't always as instantaneous or as comprehensive as its bigger siblings. The sensor suite, while incredible for a palm drone, is fundamentally slower to react than the APAS system on the Mini Pro or Air series. You must fly slower when weaving between objects, or you risk getting a very nasty, very expensive surprise. It's not a failure of the feature, but a failure of expectation management. They advertise omnidirectional sensing, which is technically true, but the speed and confidence of the avoidance system still falls short of their Pro line. I wish they had tuned the APAS software to be more aggressive in its stopping and avoidance, especially given the Neo 2's target market of first-time and FPV-curious pilots. 1. The proprietary power problem. Finally, the single most frustrating aspect of living with the Neo 2, the proprietary charging connection. The drone itself charges via a USB-C port, which is great. But the remote controller and the FPV goggles that come with the Motion Fly More combo? They use a completely different, completely proprietary magnetic charging cable. Are you serious, DJI? We live in a world where a single USB-C cable can charge our phone, our tablet, our laptop, our camera, and the drone itself. But to charge the two most expensive accessories, you need to carry a specialized, easy-to-lose, magnetic cable that serves no other purpose in your entire technology kit. It's anti-consumer. It creates unnecessary cable clutter. And if you lose that specific cable on a trip, your controller and goggles are essentially bricked. I wish, with every fiber of my being, that DJI would stop forcing proprietary charging solutions on their high-end accessories. Every part of this kit, the drone, the controller, the goggles, should charge via the universal standard of USB-C. No exceptions. This is the definition of a simple fix that creates massive user friction. The final verdict: is it worth it? So there you have it. 10 things I absolutely wish DJI had done better on the Neo 2. We've talked about the logistical headache for the American audience, the crippling storage limits, the altitude ceiling, the low-light letdown, the no RAW photos, the proprietary batteries, the hidden O4 tax, the limited vertical video, the slow obstacle avoidance, and the maddening proprietary charging cables. You might be thinking, wow, that's a lot of complaints. Should I even buy it? And the honest answer is yes. Despite all of these flaws, the DJI Neo 2 is still a revolutionary drone. The 2-axis mechanical gimbal, the 4K/60 video, and the true omnidirectional avoidance in a 151-gram package is an engineering miracle. But I'm not here to sell you on the fantasy. I'm here to give you the facts. This drone has a ceiling on its professional use. It's a 90% perfect product with 10% of its potential intentionally locked away. You just need to know exactly where those limitations are, so you can plan your flights, manage your expectations, and ensure you're always getting the best possible shot. So, tell me, which of these flaws is the biggest deal breaker for you? Is it the US availability? Or is it the no SD card slot? Drop a comment below and let me know your take.